Welcome to episode 14 of the Gingerspyce Tiefling Druid. In this episode, I'm going to be doing Madness of Crowds with Nimvind and another guildie, and I am level 14. Take a look at where some things are. There's some numbers for you, and some gear. I actually chose this quest because some very important pieces of gear come out of here for a level 14 Druid, which I'll cover when I get to them. But we'll go over the gear here. We've got the torque still here. Just going to quickly go over the stuff that's the same as previous episodes. The Pansophic Circlet, wonderful piece of gear for general potency. Great for a druid because we have so many different damage types. The Concordant Opposition Heroic Green Steel Goggles, lots of goodies on there. So this is the first piece of gear that I wanted to mention that come from Madness of Crowds, the Scales of the Exile. So this is a heavy armor option for level 14. It's made from dragon scale, so good for druids. It has wonderful stats on it, and which include Insightful Wisdom 3 and Insightful Constitution 3, just perfect for this kind of tankier playstyle. It's got Parrying 3, that's great, insight bonus to AC and saves. It's got Fortification on it. At this point, if you didn't have another source of fortification other than just that, that would be just fine. But you might be thinking, I thought you need to have 100 or more. Here's the thing. When you're in elemental form, and I should have mentioned this last level, you get a whole bunch of bonuses, including a 100% bonus, a racial bonus to fortification. You can see I have 210% fortification right now. So while I'm mentioning that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about elemental form some more here. That would be under Druid feats, and Wild Shape, and here we go. So, in addition to getting bonuses to your associated element, in this case fire, for fire elemental form, and minuses to the opposite element, in this case water, and vice versa for water elemental form, I also get 65% fire absorption while I'm in fire elemental form, and 15% more damage from cold sources. You're considered an elemental, and you gain plus 10 racial bonus to saving throws against magical poisons, racial immunity to natural poisons, sleep paralysis, and stun, pretty cool, and 100% bonus to fortification. If you're a warforged, you are no longer considered a living construct, and can now be healed normally by positive energy spells, and you become immune to repair spells. So lots of goodies there in elemental form. Don't stress about being in the quote-unquote wrong elemental form. Your Creeping Cold and Greater Creeping Cold are still strong spells, even when you're in fire elemental form. Yes, they would be more powerful if you were not in fire elemental form, but it's not the kind of thing where you typically need to stress out about constantly switching back and forth, in the middle of a quest. Typically, I like to run just in one form or the other for a whole quest. But situationally, I might switch to one or the other. If I'm fighting a boss that I know is going to take more damage from cold, I might, run in cold form, water elemental form, if I was otherwise running in fire, and vice versa. Okay, so back to the Scales of the Exile. I got it slotted up with Sapphire of Armor Agility +1. That's going to increase my maximum dex bonus that I can get from this armor. I also put the Alchemical Armor Defense on there that gives me another bonus to AC, and as an AC build, every point is important to me. You can see I have a 98 armor class, and that's pretty good for level 14, especially for not a real tank. This is one part of a set bonus. You can see at the bottom, Wayward Warrior. When two pieces are equipped and the other piece is the shield, you get a +2 artifact bonus to natural armor and +1 artifact bonus to constitution. Hell yeah. Give it to me. Big stacking hit points from the Heroic Green Steel Mineral Belt, or Mineral Bracers. This is the same ring as before. Basically, con ring. The Insightful Constitution is redundant now because we have it on the armor. We'll be switching to a different ring at level 15. Same boots as before. That's my source of sheltering. Dex 6. Other goodies on there. Blurfinger gloves. Remember, that's mainly for the big 25% stacking mischance from lesser displacement. Charisma and Glaciation on the ring. Big stacking cold and electric spell power. Also a nice source of cold and electric lore on the Thrumming Spark Cord. And the Cloak of Flame is the same as last time. This will be replaced next level. And the trinket is the same as well. The Insightful Wisdom is redundant from the armor now. I'll be replacing this next level. So the other part of the Wayward Warrior set is the Giant's Platter, which also comes from this quest, Madness of Crowds. I've got it slotted up with a Sapphire of Spell Agility +5, and just because I could, an extra slot, and that is going to reduce my Arcane Spell Failure. You only get Arcane Spell Failure from Arcane Spells, and this is a point I want to emphasize because over the years people have asked me, like, what about Arcane Spell Failure, wearing heavy armor and shield? Druids aren't arcane, so Druid spells don't suffer from Arcane Spell Failure. You can cast those just fine in heavy armor and shield, but the Arcane spells that I do cast would be like Greater Heroism, which it's not important to go out of your way to, reduce your Arcane Spell Failure just for that. It's just that I had an open slot, so why the hell not, right? It's basically free. It's got Magical Sheltering 18 on it, Natural Armor bonus 7, cool, nice source of vitality and protection, Mythic Shield boost to boot, and again that second part of the Wayward Warrior set. What's really neat about the Giant's Platter, oh, and by the way, I have the Alchemical Shield defense at the top. That's another stacking 1 bonus to armor class. That's another ritual that you do at the Stone of Change. Stone of Change, of course, in the market or in the 12, and you might have one in the cargo bay of your guild ship. So what's neat about the Giant's Platter is it's actually part of 2 different sets, and so the other set that it's a part of is the Seasons of Change set, also great for a Druid. When 2 pieces are equipped, you get a +10 artifact bonus to fire and cold spell power, and a +1 artifact bonus to evocation DCs. Remember, as a caster Druid, by far and above, the spell school you care about most is evocation. So that's really nice. And the other part of the Seasons of Change set is the Wild Flame. There's also another sickle, a cold sickle, or ice sickle if you prefer, called the Wild Frost, which I was using before, but I decided to go with the Wild Flame instead. The stats on it are, it's basically like a cold version of this. So you can see it says Combustion 90, Insightful Combustion 45, Fire Lore 13%. So the Wild Frost has Glaciation 90, Insightful Glaciation 45, and Cold Lore 13%. The Wild Frost, the cold one, also has Conjuration Focus +3 instead of Evocation Focus +3. So that's one reason why I want to use the Wild Flame instead of the Wild Frost, is because I care more about Evocation. Now, if you're a more traditional Druid caster and you didn't want to use a shield, you could dual wield both the Wild Flame and the Wild Frost and benefit from the Seasons of Change set. That's a 2-piece set, and there are 3 different pieces that you could use. Any 2 of those 3, and so it's the Wild Flame, the Wild Frost, and the Giant's Platter Shield. Any 2 of those will give you this set bonus. So another reason why the Wild Flame is going to have more interest to me is because as a Tiefling, I'm going to have the option to substitute Fire Spell Power for another Spell Power, which I'm going to be picking up next level. I can substitute Fire in place of Acid, or Cold, or Electric. I can only choose one of those, though, and vice versa. So if your Fire Spell Power is higher than your Cold, it will be used in place of your Cold Spell Power, and vice versa. And that's what I'm going to be choosing. Don't have that yet, though. Nothing else to mention on the gear. The only other accessory I have is the Jeweled Cloak. This comes out of a couple quests in Giant Hold. This has 8 charges of Spell Absorption. So as I mentioned before, Spell Absorption hugely important, especially in Reaper mode. You get a Nasty Caster, or especially a Famine Reaper. First thing you want to do when you see a Famine Reaper is put on your Spell Absorption. And so you want to have as many sources of Spell Absorption as you reasonably can. So at this level range, that means pay 11 Dryoun Stone, Mantle the World Shaper, and your Jeweled Cloak. This is the Elite version. The Normal and Hard are level 12 and 13. They have less charges on them. They are exclusive, so you could not have, for example, the Normal and the Elite version in your inventory at the same time. You also cannot have the Heroic and Epic version in your inventory at the same time either, because it is exclusive. Alright, so where are we? Enhancements. So since last episode, the only thing I picked up would be some acid resistance and some cold resistance. And I picked these up because these were prerequisites for substituting fire spell power for cold, which I'll get next level. So otherwise, these two are not very exciting. And that's a pretty steep cost. That costs 2, then 1, and then this is going to cost another 2. Oh, no, that's just 1. So it's going to be a total of 4 action points to be able to substitute fire spell power for cold spell power. I'm not sure how worthwhile that's going to be, but we'll see. Next level, we'll look at the spell powers, and maybe I'll switch from the Thrumming Spark Cord to the Burn Scar Sash. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about that then. I haven't picked up anything else in the other trees. I might have picked up the Point of Constitution since the last episode. I'm not sure, but because I was at an odd number, it brought me up to 40, and that's where I want to be. Remember, you only get bonuses from your stats for every even number. So if that was like a 39, that would be just a plus 14. Or if it was a 41, it would still be plus 15. Doesn't jump up to a plus 16 until it is up to 42. So you want to try to keep your important stats even. You can see my wisdom is odd right now, so I actually could back off a point of wisdom here. But I'll be getting another point of wisdom next level anyways from the Reaper trees, which we'll talk about next episode. Feats. Nothing new to mention at level 14 on the spell side. I did pick up Regenerate. This is a really nice heal over time spell that does more than just heal you over time. It restores lost levels. Like if you're level drained, it also restores other conditions like stat damage, for example. Let's see, bleeding effects are removed, so it's a really, really, really nice heal over time spell. And then I got another level 6 spell. I chose Fire Shield. You can see I have both the blue and the red version loaded up in the hotbar, because if I just have the basic spell, then I have to click it and then click again. If you want to load them both up, you just drag them into your hotbar from there, right? And that way you can just one-touch them both. I have them, not only both of them in my hotbars, but I have them both of them hotkeyed. And even though this is a buff, I actually do have this quickened. I've talked before about how, turning quicken off for your buffs is a great mana savings. But Fire Shield is more of a temporary buff. It's not the kind of thing you're going to typically cast at the beginning of a dungeon, because it only lasts a few minutes. So this is the kind of thing that you're using situationally. And when you're in a situation where you need fire protection or you need cold protection, you need it right now. You're probably going to be in the middle of combat, and you don't want it to fail because you got hit. So I do keep those quickened. Important point there. Nothing else to mention on the spells, but I do want to mention, evocation versus conjuration, with specific reference to Wild Flame and Wild Frost. Wild Frost has conjuration focus. Wild Flame has evocation focus. Conjuration, is also useful for a druid. It's just that, like I said, evocation is far and above the school you care about most. Druids don't have a lot of conjuration spells, but there are 4 of them that have a save, so I'll mention those. One of them is Fire Seeds, which isn't a spell I use very often. I will pick it up, and I do use it occasionally, but typically when I'm just nuking. I don't use it as part of my regular spell rotation, but I'm starting to think that maybe I should. It is a ranged burst kind of a spell, and druids don't have a lot of that, so, this is one that maybe I need to take a closer look at. But you can cast this in 2 different ways. You can throw little acorns on the ground and it acts as a trap, and then when mobs walk over it, it explodes. So when I'm fighting mobs in my own personal little hurricane and I want even more oomph, I might throw the Fire Seeds on the ground, just like I do with Fire Trap, for example. Fire Trap is a little 2nd level spell here. But you can also cast Fire Seeds as the ranged option as well, and it's akin to a fireball, for example. So I need to take a closer look at that option, especially if my fire spell power is going to be higher than I typically would in the past. And so that's a save for half, so that's conjuration. Another conjuration spell is Creeping Doom and Enveloping Swarm. Those are 2 acid dots, and those are were something different prior to update 38, but they're now both acid dots. And I'll talk more about Creeping Doom when we get there, because that is a very, very interesting dot. In the event, both of those are saved for half. They're both conjuration. And then the last conjuration spell that has a save is Storm of Vengeance, which is a nice AoE. That has 2 damage types. It has acid, and it does also like sporadic lightning bolts. The acid is the main damage type that has no save, but the lightning bolts that it shoots periodically at a random target, those do have a save for half, and that is Conjuration. So just 4 spells of Conjuration: Fire Seeds, Storm of Vengeance, Creeping Doom, and Enveloping Swarm. You don't want to blow off Conjuration, but probably not the kind of thing that you're looking to go way out of your way to get really high on a caster Druid. Reaper trees, nothing new to mention. Next level we'll get tier 3 cores right here, so I'll get a point of dex, another point of wisdom, and a point of constitution. Remember, tier 2 through 6 innate are always on. So like right now I'm always benefiting from the +1 to saving throws and +20 maximum hit points, even if I'm not in a Reaper dungeon. Similarly, the stat when I get constitution of wisdom and reflex, or in dexterity, those will always be on, even if I'm not in a Reaper dungeon. It's just this stuff up here and the tier 1s. Those are only functioning inside a Reaper dungeon. The quests that I've done: all the Giant Hold 14 flaggers, as well as the Crucible, big XP there. I did not do Reaver's Fate, the raid, though. And then I also did the 4 Orchard of the Macabre quests. And I did a couple out here, which were the Night Market one, Night Falls on Stormreach, and then the Madness of Crowds, which we're going to get to right now.
I'll be in just 1 second. I'm redoing my enhancement points real quick.
This one's pretty easy comparatively. This one's really just 2 fights and then the boss fight, if you're careful. Lots of cool optionals in here that you can do, but and some of them affect the outcome of the quest, like this one here. You use Oral on the Lawbringer for this one. You do all 4 of the altars, the elemental altars here, and then the elementals in the end fight will end up fighting for you instead of against you, obviously making the end fight easier. And so we get 2 more altars we're going to do in a bit after this next fight. Yeah, just hang back by these trees and we'll get this started and let them duke it out for a minute. For about 10 seconds or so. So this optional here, if you take out the Sulatar now, then they won't appear in the end fight. Again, making the end fight easier. So that's one of the really cool things about this quest, is that, you know, a couple of the optionals that you can do affect the end fight in a very big way. And so when you're doing this on a higher skull, it makes a big difference. So we're going to take the Valkyr side, and then we're going to run back, and we're going to let them fight it out. Because I don't want initial aggro, right? I mean, let them duke it out for a few seconds, and then we can run in and clean up the mess, right? Work smarter, not harder. That's what the kids say. But we can go in now. I forgot to load up on fire shield scrolls. I mean, displacement scrolls. We hit the elementals with Greater Creeping Cold. That finishes them off. The boss seems to be preoccupied with the NPCs, so we'll just start taking out some of these other guys. 4 of our dots. I'm going to throw up a sleet storm here, and that's going to put out his firewall and make it so he can't cast more there. Sweet. Now we're going to go up this hill. Don't fight the wood woads. They'll go non-aggressive as soon as I click on the altar. And you can actually get those wood woads to fight for you. It looks like there's a Carnage Reaper in the mix. Because they're going to be friendly as soon as you click on the jungle leaves.
They'll end up fighting it.
And so if they'll go back down on the side, and then when you're doing the fight
got KO'd.
in front of the camp, you can actually drag mobs back to the wood woads and they'll engage them. We're going to go across the road now. Please don't touch the spear. That will aggro or spawn a red named Scarl. We don't want to fight him because we don't need to fight him. So looking for Brawn Pits. He could have been at that last altar, and then this is the second place he can be. That's good. That way I can talk about what that does on the video. So when Brawn Pits is here at the river,
I'm pretty sure that's not working as intended, and I hope the devs do fix that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. The mobs
we
across
already handled those mobs
across the road.
It makes no sense that they would go aggressive.
At the fire altar will be aggressive now because Brawn Pits was there. So I'm gonna quickly come up here and hit the bloody spear. Now, if you have a really good jump, you can actually jump up there, but it's kind of tricky. But it can be a safer way to do it without having to run through all these water alleys. But they go non-aggressive as soon as you click on the bloody spear on the altar.
Good answer. I do.
And here's a fungus.
Now, but eventually soon.
And here's another fungus. We're going to pick up 6 collectibles on the way to get our driftwood. That's the one stew ingredient that we're going to want. You can get all 3, but it's just an optional, and it gives you a little bit of extra XP. But it's extra fighting. You know, you got to fight a named Scorpion and a named Scarrow. There's another fungus. There's our driftwood. These guys are friendly because we prayed to the bloody spear. Not to be confused with the actual bloody spear that appears that you pick up. That's a stew ingredient. I was talking about praying to the bloody spear at the altar. 2 more fungi, and we're going to come up this ramp and get 1 more collectible. The driftwood could be along here too, or anywhere along that riverbed. It can be up here hiding in the weeds. These guys will go non-aggressive as soon as we get close because we sided with the Valkyrie earlier. So if we didn't do that, they would fight us right now. See, it looks like they're aggressive, but as soon as you get to them, they're not. The driftwood can also be here. And I'm just going to show the last place where the driftwood can be before we detour. Actually, I'm not going to detour because I want to show folks how they can get around without aggroing mobs.
But but Bronze Pits was at the river.
Yeah, and I'm going to show how you can get around without if you don't have detour. And then the driftwood could also be here. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to way around, follow me. And this is like, if you don't have detour, this is the way that you want to go to not aggro all that crippity crap. So if we had detour, which we do, but you know, you could just detour back to the start and approach the camp from the backside. But if you don't have detour, then you're going to want to cut way around like this. Okay, and this is going to help you avoid all the crap that's over there. These are Valkyrie mobs here, so just like those last ones, they'll go non-aggressive as soon as we get close to them, which they did. Okay, and then you're just going to come over here, making a big, wide run around the perimeter. And then you can just either go over the hill, or you can come back through here, and then the camp is just up there to the left. But I want to go ahead and detour for demonstrative reasons. But you can see the mobs are right up there. We're going to be approaching them from the other side. Go ahead and detour, and everybody take it. So here, you don't want to go up the road. We're not going to go up the road here because the mobs are going to be aggressive across from the camp at the fire altar. So instead of going up the road, we're going to cut through the weeds over here. Now, brawn pits can also be up right up there, underneath the aqueduct. So if that was the case, you would just need to make a U-turn right up here to the left. I'm going to use Charm Animal on these scorpions. Oh, geez. A lot of these things ran right by me. And that's something, you know, those scorpions, like I've said, have, like, Jack for save. So if you were doing this on R10, which I like to do in Legendaries, this is one of the few that I actually will do. I feel very comfortable doing this one on R10 because it is quite a bit easier. You know, you only have like 3 fights, 2 fights in the end fight, and you can make that end fight a hell of a lot easier on yourself. So I'll come in here and do this on R10 and, you know, knock it out in 10 minutes with a group. And that's decent, you know, it's a nice daily. So, and I'll charm the scorpions on R10 with no problem. With level 1 charm animal. We gotta kill all this stuff, because otherwise brawn pits won't appear.
Not the plague reaper, but the scorpions.
Yep. And I can't dismiss charm animal, unfortunately. It just... the way it was coded. Okay, that's dead. Let's go. Looks like we got some more drow up here.
Don't go too near the cauldron.
Yep. Stay away from that stew cauldron. Don't get anywhere near it. Because if you do, you will aggro all the crap on the other side of the road. Hey, it's our Reaper friend.
Oh, he's saved.
I was just watching the last episode of Reaper Life 2 the other day, and that Reaper that you're dancing with smacks you. He just cracks me up when he smacks you.
Yeah. That was not intended, but it worked perfect.
It did work perfectly. Kind of like your little soundbite at the end of Reaper Life 3. It wasn't intended, but it worked perfectly. So now that we've killed all the mobs, now that we've killed all the mobs, Brawn Pits appears, and he knows we're crazy. So see all the mobs that are aggressive on the other side of the road. This part gets really tricky because sometimes you can get like just to the very, very edge of the cauldron and click on it without aggroing them, but sometimes you still aggro them. So, but you guys want to basically go for the bed roll, and I'm gonna try to get close, but not too close. Okay, we can go to sleep now. And you can put up some, like, AoE stuff here in case shit does aggro on you while you're trying to sleep. Because you can actually, you know, click to take a nap.
I like how he's the famous now.
And you can die while you, like, in this part where it's fading to black.
Wasn't he also with the Storm Reaver during the raid in GH, Giant Hold?
Yeah, Follow Truth.
So he's super famous.
Funny dialogue option here is, where's the stew? I'm starving. I let the drow have the stew, they died. Because you're crazy right now. And that's one of the things I didn't realize is that like you've lost your mind because of the rage right now, and Brawn Pit sees it, but you don't. The crazy stew that you made was just like you thought it was a good idea to throw a spear and a fucking piece of driftwood and you know, whatever that crap was, a stinger, like, but that's not the antidote. That's why, like, when you click on Brawn Pit's outside, he's like, why don't you take a nap? I'll handle this, because he knows you're nuts. So this end fight will be a lot easier now. I just need to get a GH scroll off here and we can get it started. Because of the optionals that we did. You don't have to do the altars, you don't have to do the side with the Valkyrie, but we did. Put on a fire shield, displacement, temporary hit points, and then we'll just do some AoEs here, so that those mobs are slipping and sliding all around. We'll blind them with some sunburst action. See, now the wood woad and all the elementals, they're fighting for us now. We'll put up a sleet storm here because that'll extinguish the firewalls. Greater Creeping Cove, we got plenty of mana. We just got all our mana back, so I'm gonna throw my big spells on these guys. I'm not worried about running out of mana. Boss is dead. We'll clean up the trash. Get knocked down. And, you know, if we hadn't sided with the Valkyrie, then those Sulatar would appear, you know, once the boss gets down to, like, I don't know, about 60% health or so. He would actually call them in, and you'd have to fight their red name. We win. Good job, guys. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about my build, you can respond to my build post in the Druid forum. If you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube.